Let us learn how we can perform the various matrix operations using Scilab. So first of all, we'll see how you can define a matrix in Scilab. So 2 and 2 are the first row element. If I have to give the second row elements, then I have to put a semicolon, and then if I give something like this, it defines a matrix A, which is a 2 by 2 matrix. Let me display this and execute it. So on execution, I have to save this file. So we see that we get a 2 by 2 matrix. So over here, we have to remember one thing, that semicolon has to be used like we have done over here to separate the row elements. Now let me define another matrix, 2 by 2 matrix again with the different elements, say this element. So I have defined two matrices over here. Now let us see how the various operations, simple operations, will start with. If we have to add two matrices, then how that can be done? We have to use simple operator, that is a plus operator. So if I use this operator, then we'll see that two matrices will be added. Let us execute this. And we see that this is the first matrix. Second matrix I have not displayed, which is 1 2 3 1, and the final result is after adding the two matrices is this. So we have to use simple operator plus operator to add two matrices. Now if we wish to subtract two matrices, then we have to simply use the operator minus, and that will subtract the two matrices. Let me display the matrix B also. Okay, so if I execute it, we see that these are the two input matrices A and B, and sorry, I have to display the subtraction. So if I display sub, then on execution I'll be getting the resultant matrix, which is the subtraction of two matrices. Now if I use another operation, I replace this minus with a dot star, then what will happen? Element by element multiplication will take place. So let us see what result we'll get. So element by element multiplication takes place. 2 will be multiplied with 1. We get 2. 2 with the 2 gets 4. 2 with the 3 we get 6. So dot star is used when you have to perform the element by element multiplication. Now let us see if I use this operator instead of using dot star. If I use dot slash, then element by element division will take place. So this is what we'll get. So while you are performing addition, subtraction, element by element multiplication, or element by element division, then for that the two matrices, they have to be of the same order. If the order will be different, then you won't be able to perform the operation. Let me introduce another matrix, say matrix C, which has a different order. Say it is 1 2 3 and 2 1 0. Display C. Now over here, what I'm trying to tell you is this: if I replace this B matrix with the C matrix, now you see that the order of matrix is 2 by 2, whereas the order of matrix is 2 by 3. If I use this operation, will I get correct result or not? Let us execute it. So we see that we are getting an error. Why there is an error? You see that this is the error which we are getting. inconsistent element wise operation. Why this inconsistent element wise operation? Because the order of matrices is not same. So you have to keep this thing in mind that the order of the matrices should be same if you have to perform such operation. Now over here I can replace dot star with a star also. Now let us see, if I use dot star over here, what will be the result? So again we are getting the error on execution of this particular program. Why there is an error? As I told you, because the order of the matrices is not same, it is different. So that is why this operator is going to give us the incorrect answer or the error. Now let us replace this dot star with a star operator. Let us see what we get when we execute this. So on execution we see that now we are getting the answer. Why we are getting the answer? Previously when we used dot star, element by element multiplication was taking place, but when we use A star C, that means two matrices will be multiplied. Now A is a matrix of order 2 by 2 and the C is a matrix of 2 by 3. So two matrices, these two matrices are obeying the rules of multiplication, and that is why this is the matrix which we are getting after the matrix A has been multiplied with the matrix C. So this is the result which we'll get. So you have to be very clear about this operator, dot star operator and star operator. So dot star operator will perform the element by element multiplication, whereas star will perform the matrix multiplication if A and C are the matrices. Now we will learn how you can access any element of the matrix. Let us say I have defined another matrix A. Now we have 3 rows and 3 columns. So this is a matrix of order 3 by 3. Let us display this matrix. So this is a matrix A we have. Now say if you are interested in a particular element of this matrix and you wish to access a particular element. So how to access a particular element? For that we have to use A is the name of the matrix, then which particular element you are interested in. Suppose I wish to access this element 3 over here. So we have to see the index for this particular element. So what is the index for this element? This is belonging to the second row and second column. So the index which we have to pass over here is 2 and 2. So if I pass this index and display its value, let us see what do we get. Do we get 3 or not? So we see that we are getting 3. So that means we are able to access this particular element. Now suppose if you wish to access the element 6 over here, how it can be done? Again we have to pass the required indices, and for this particular element the index will be third row and third column. So the first parameter over here will always be the row number and the second parameter will always be the column number. So this is how a particular element can be accessed in a given matrix. Now let us say we are not interested only in a single element, but we wish to access the first row or second row or any row of the given matrix. So how that can be accessed? So for that, suppose I am interested in the second row element. So I have to pass, first parameter has to be the row number. So I pass 2. And then since I want all the column elements for the second row, so what we have to use over here is we have to use a column and then terminate. So it means that I am interested in the second row and column means all the elements of the column index. So let us execute and see what do we get. So we see that we are able to access the second row. Similarly, if you are interested in the third row element, you have to simply change 2 with a 3. So we are able to access the third row element. So this is how you can access any elements of a given matrix row wise. Now suppose the next case is you are not interested in the row wise but you wish to access the elements column wise. So how to access the elements column wise? For that we have to access all the rows. So we'll put column over here, and then after that we have to give the respective column number. If I am interested in the third column, say I can give something like this, and let us see what do we get. So we are getting 4, 5, 6. This is the third column. So if I replace this 3 with a 1, that means then I'll be able to access the first column element. So let us execute. So we are able to access the first column element. So this is how you can not only access a single element, but you can access the elements row wise or the elements column wise. Now let us extend this problem further. Say you are not interested in the row wise or column wise, you wish to extract the submatrix out of this. So how we can extract a submatrix from this? So this is what we have to learn. Say this is the matrix and I wish to express 3, 5 and 5, 6 as a submatrix from a bigger matrix. So how to do that? Again, since I am interested in 3, 5 and 5, 6, so that means I am interested in the which row? Second row and third row. Similarly, I have to give the column numbers. Which column numbers I am interested in? I am interested in the second and the third column. So let us see what do we get after we do this. So we see that we are able to access the 4 elements depending upon what row numbers and what column numbers you wish to extract the submatrix from. Now suppose if I wish to extract 2, 2 and 2, 3. This submatrix I wish to extract. So for that I have to change the respective indices. So for the row numbers the indices will be 1 to 2, and for the column numbers again it will be 1 to 2, and let us execute it again and see what do we get. So we are able to access. So this is how you can access the submatrix out of a bigger matrix also. Now suppose if the matrix is very large and you don't know what is the size of the matrix and you wish to access say the last row of a matrix and the size you don't know. It can be 10, it can be 100. Okay, it is dynamic matrix. So if you wish to access the last row element, for that we use a special symbol, that is a dollar symbol. So dollar symbol refers to the last index. So if I pass this dollar as the row element and then I pass this column, that means I am interested to access the last row element. So if I execute it, let us see what do we get. I am able to access the last row element. Similarly, if I interested in accessing the last column element, then what I have to do is I have to pass something like this, all rows and the last column, and I should be able to get the last column. So see, we are getting the last column. So we have seen how we can access the single element, how we can access the element of a matrix row wise, column wise, how we can extract a submatrix, how we can extract the last row or the last column matrix. Now let us learn more about some inbuilt functions available in Scilab. Now if I am interested to find out what is the size of the matrix A, then for that I have to use this function size of A, and if I save this size, I have to save this size. So say if I give this kind of a command, then we'll see that the size of the given matrix A will be returned and the number of rows will be stored in the variable R and the number of columns will be stored in the variable C. And after this we can display the rows and similarly we can display columns. So let us execute and see what do we get. So we are getting 3 by 3 because this is a 3 by 3 matrix. Now suppose if I change the order of the matrix, I make it 2 by 3 matrix and execute it again and test whether I am getting the correct answer or not. So I see that on execution the number of rows are 2 and the number of columns is 3. Suppose I slightly change it again and see how does it work. So I am getting 2 by 2. So depending upon what is the size of the matrix, we can store the size, how many rows and how many columns it has in the variables respectively. So Scilab is very powerful. Now let us see, this is the matrix and I wish to determine the determinant of this matrix. If the matrix is small, you can manually compute the determinant also. I have to display it. So say so let me execute it again and see what do I get. So on execution, I see that I'm getting this determinant, and for the small matrix, we can check also. So 6 minus 4 should give us 2 and we are getting the correct answer. Manually, we can do it easily for the smaller matrices, but as the order of the matrix becomes large, then the things become difficult and it requires lots of time to compute the determinant. But using Scilab, it takes just a fraction of time. So we are getting the determinant for this matrix, 3 by 3 matrix. Now other important inbuilt functions, if you wish to compute the inverse of the matrix, you have to use simple function inv that will compute the inverse. Manually, you know how tedious it is to compute the inverse of a matrix, requires lots of time, and as the size of the matrix becomes larger and larger, the manual computation of the inverse becomes practically impossible. But Scilab, you can use it and compute the inverse of the matrix with a click of a button. So it doesn't require much time. So this is another important function which we have to commonly use. Other are, if you are interested in the eigenvalues of the matrix, any matrix of any order, we use this function, spec function. So spec function is used to determine the eigenvalues and eigenfunctions. So if I execute it, these are the three eigenvalues of the given matrix which I get. If I am interested in determining the transpose of the matrix, that is again simple. I have to use this A prime only, and by we see that we are able to get the transpose of the matrix. Now if we have to define a column matrix, let us see how it can be done. 1 semicolon 2 semicolon 3. Display. Let me comment this one and execute it. So we see that the column matrix B has been defined like this. Here we see that we are separating each and every element with a semicolon. As I told you that semicolon is used to separate the row elements. Now suppose if you wish to define a large matrix, say of the order 10 by 10, then defining in this conventional way is very time consuming and it is not an efficient way. So we will learn about some more inbuilt functions of Scilab by which it can be done very easily. Suppose if I define C equal to 10 by 10. So if I define a matrix like this, let us see what do we get as the output. So if I execute it, what we see is that a 10 by 10 matrix is defined using this EYE function. Let me change this so that we can see it clearly, of the order 5 by 5. So here now it is clear, a 5 by 5 order matrix has been created. It is an identity matrix. So identity matrix of any order can be created using this function EYE. Next, if I replace this EYE function with a ones function, then a matrix of all ones will be created of the order 5 rows and 5 columns. I can change it to be something like this also. It is not necessary that you should have the same number of rows and columns. So on execution, I get the matrix of the order 5 by 6 where all the elements are 1. Again, if I replace this ones with the zeros now, let us see what we'll get. As expected, we should get a matrix with all the elements as 0. So sometimes if we have to initialize the matrix in the beginning, which is of higher order, then this function is very useful. Next, this is again important function which is rand. So random matrix is created using this rand function. Here I am creating a matrix of the order 5 by 6. So let us see what do we get at the output. So a matrix of order 5 by 6 is created and this is how it looks. Let me reduce the size of the matrix so as to understand what exactly it does. Let me reduce it further. So a 2 by 2 matrix is created, which is a random matrix, and here all the elements are having the fractional value. Suppose if you are not interested in the fractional value, you are interested in the integral values, then we can get the integer number also from here. How we can get? If I multiply each and every element with a 10, so I'll be getting 2.8, and finally since I'm interested in the integer values only, so I can use function int. So if I use int something like this, then we'll see that we'll get the matrix with the all integral values. So a random matrix of any order can be easily generated using this function also. Say now if I increase the size, let us see what do we get. So we are able to generate a matrix of order 4 by 4. Random matrix has been generated. So this is how this function is again very useful. Now let us talk about a new function. Say this is a matrix, C is the matrix, a 4 by 4 matrix, and I am interested in the diagonal elements of this matrix. So if you wish to extract all the diagonal elements of this matrix, how it can be done? This is how this function DIAG function can be used. So we'll see that how all the diagonal elements of a square matrix can be extracted using this function. So let me execute it again and see what do we get. So we see that the result is 3578, which is your diagonal element.